We're opening up the mailbag to check on Jayson Tatum's progress, why the Celtics should sign Damian Lillard, big man options, and even my bald head. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time dapping D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Your team's the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them Monday through Friday right here, all July, August, and September, 3 days a week, but then back to 5 days a week. Of course, if anything happens, bonus podcasts all the time, all year long. So make sure you're subscribed. The show's always free. It's available everywhere. It's on YouTube. Watch it there. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts with me. I'm John Karalis, beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, author of a couple of different Celtics books, so you can check those out. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, you get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Today's show is a mailbag episode. Your questions can be submitted at johnkaralis.com/mailbag, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. Later on, we'll get into the silly questions, which I encourage, about my baldness. Big man options are coming up. The Damian Lillard question in this next segment. But before we get to the first question about Jayson Tatum, I just want to send a shout out. I spent the holiday weekend in Newport, Rhode Island, and gorgeous place, tons of Celtics fans. I must have bumped into a dozen different podcast listeners, and just first of all, thank you everybody for saying hi. So great, make me look good in front of my wife. It just proves to her that people are actually listening to the show. But I really do thank everybody. Shout out to all the people I met. I remember Ethan. I remember Michael. A couple people I never got their names. Special shout out to the A team, Avant, Ace, and Al. It was a great time hanging out with them. Ace is my guy. So just shout out to everybody. It was just a great time hanging out with everybody and talking Celtics. It's just, even if I'm on vacation, it doesn't matter. Like I will watch. I will talk Celtics. It was 12:30 in the morning, and I spent 40 minutes basically doing a one-on-one podcast with somebody, just having fun. So, but let's get to this podcast and the mailbag. Again, johnkaralis.com/mailbag. First question comes from Sarah. Recent videos on social media have shown JT making progress, working out, walking in a pool unassisted. What do you think this means for his recovery timeline? I don't know that we're at a point now where we can start looking at how this impacts his recovery timeline. Still a lot of steps to go where step back could happen. So it's a little early. It's like at this point trying to figure out what a marathon time will be at mile 3. And you can be like, wow, this is a good pace. Can you keep up this pace? There's so many places along the route that things can go wrong. So right now, first 3 miles, yeah, great pace. It's great to see him in the pool. Such low impact in the pool, but he's there. He's getting up on his toes, which means he's making that Achilles tendon work and flex his calf. So that's the important thing. You're starting to get that first feel for the ankle, the Achilles, the calf working in unison. And now from there, you start taking those next steps. But obviously very encouraging. He's still wearing the boot to work out, but he's doing other things. He's doing crazy ab workouts that, I don't know if I could have ever done them, but he's out there doing them. He's working, and a lot of it's on social media. And I'm sure like every second of it is being filmed, and it's going to turn into a some kind of documentary at some point. But I'm encouraged by what I see. And so right now, cautiously optimistic, but the next step could take a lot longer. And so we'll wait until he's walking unassisted and not walking with the boot and starting to be able to look a little bit more normal before we make that next jump into where this goes for his recovery timeline. Danya from Toronto. We're getting into second apron questions now in the new CBA. How do you feel about a system where you can spend whatever you want on players you draft? There's only a salary cap for players you trade for or free agents. Each team is slotted X amount of money for trades, free agency, and are penalized for going over that. This is a very common type of approach for people. A lot of people want the players you draft to be treated differently than the players you sign, trade for, etc. And I assume that there's because of Jayson and Jaylen that's the approach. But you get into some questions here. The Celtics technically didn't draft Jayson Tatum, right? Draft night trade or a trade ahead of time. They swapped picks. So this is lawyers in the bunch. Maybe I got to ask my wife about this. Do you consider Jayson as the guy that they drafted, even though Philly made the draft pick and they traded draft picks? Because it goes down as Philly's pick and then they swap picks after the fact. So the practical answer is that he is the guy you drafted. He never went to Philly and all of that stuff. I understand that, but I'm just bringing up the question because legally, you got to start asking questions like that when you get into, does that count? Does a draft night trade count as the guy you drafted or the guy you traded for? And so either way, the ones you draft, it doesn't apply the same way you think, because look at Oklahoma City. They traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's a lot of players, a lot of teams' best players you get via trade, especially early on. So, but regardless, I understand where this is coming from. It's not going to happen. The NBA, I just don't think that they're going to do this. I'm willing to bet that the NBA is actually kind of okay and happy with how things are going. I understand, Celtics fans. You are angry. The Celtics were there. They had the opportunities to win. Like they won the title 2 years ago. They probably could have won it last year had certain things gone a little bit differently. And you say, all right, no problem. You win one, you struggle with how to defend it. Then you come back the year after with a new motivation and you win it again. And you just keep rolling that way. And the only thing standing in your way, under the old system was the owner willing to pay the tax? But now with this system, not only is the second apron a problem, but the tax is so bad that the Celtics, I put the number out there. They saved $27 million just in the trades for Porzingis and Holiday, but that saved over $200 million in luxury taxes. It's a lot of money. It's like real money that even super rich person, you're like, come on, that I get it. So all of that is to say, the league wants parity. And the first few years of this system were always going to be the roughest. But once you get past that initial second apron, teams being torn apart, unexpected things, once you get past that and everything settles the way I think it's going to settle, which is a lot of teams floating somewhere over the cap, touching the tax, maybe first apron, somewhere in that range, certainly not going far beyond the first apron, and and only a couple teams touching the second apron. Most teams ducking the tax, staying maybe over the cap. Couple of teams on the other end being super like just cheap and cap space teams. But a majority of the teams are going to be floating along in that middle. That's where the league wants it. So I appreciate it, Dania. I get it. I know everybody's trying to think of these types of things. And I agree that drafting well should not be punished, but the argument's going to be made that drafting well should, like, you have guys under contract very cheap for a long time. And if you're really good, you can do, and this is where San Antonio is being tested. If you're really good, what you put around those guys in that interim before the guys you draft get really expensive, that's where you can really make a mark as a GM. So bottom line is that this system is going to stick around for a while. I think it's doing what the league wants. It sucks because the Celtics are first in the door or first out the door, but it's going the way the league wants it to. And over time, I think the league just wants to spread out the talent and go from there. So unfortunately, no. Todd's question is coming up next, asking about 2 max contracts. Is that going to be a thing of the past? We'll get to that. We'll get to Damian Lillard. That's all coming up. And big man options. That's all coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Go ahead and download that FanDuel app. We got the summer sports now, baseball, Wimbledon, golf all over the place. There's a lot to, if you want to get in on the action, you feel good about something, go ahead and download that FanDuel app. Go to FanDuel.com. You can keep track of all your favorite matchups. There are new daily promotions with fun ways to bet. I'm sure you can go hole by hole on golf if you're interested in something like that. You can combine in-game parlays, same-game parlays in maybe a baseball game or something. So you can check it out. It's all on FanDuel.com. The best part of FanDuel to me is the safeguards that they have. Set your limits, whatever your budget is. You're an adult. You want to bet on sports? By all means, bet on sports. But if you set your limit, set your budget to only what you can afford to lose, then if you have a bad streak, if you have a couple of misses, happens, you can be okay. Just come back when you got more money and have some fun with it. Just want you to have fun. Gamble responsibly. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. The Locked On NBA feed has two podcasts, Locked On NBA Game Night and Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA is going to take you through all the big stories in the league. Locked On NBA Game Night is going to be focusing a lot more on Summer League. Nothing like overreacting to Summer League. So I will be there on Fridays with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans, talking Summer League and the big stories there. So make sure you are subscribed. Let's get back to the mailbag. Again, questions can go to johnkaralis.com/mailbag. It's the only place that I can keep track of questions. Trust me, I have a hard time keeping track of a lot of things. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag. It's the only way I'm going to be able to do this. Todd asks, do you think the addition of the second apron and its punitive penalties, say that 3 times fast, the NBA is preventing future teams rostering 2 max contract stars, thus enabling high-end talent to be shared around the league, particularly with expansion on the horizon? OKC will be torn apart in short order. Yeah, I think OKC, this next season is clearly a run-it-back season, but it won't take long for them to get super expensive, and their draft picks are going to allow them to start drafting replacements for some of these players. 2 max slots, 2 max contracts, I think are going to be doable, but staggered. Like you can't the one year after another. The way the Celtics with Jayson and Jaylen, that's going to be tough to do as these salaries like. Booker is going to get $70+ million a year, like $75 million a year. I don't understand how you can't possibly pay 2 guys $70 million a year. That's just ridiculous. We're talking about Jaylen and Jayson making 60 each in the final years of their contract. So that's very cost prohibitive. I still think you can do 2 max contracts, but the rest of your team, you better have good fits on good contracts, which means drafting well, your scouting department. I think if there's any big winner in the league, it's scouts. If I'm an NBA team, I'm probably investing in my scouting department more than ever. And that's pro scouts who are going to be going to these games. When I sit at the Garden, the row behind me is almost always pro scouts. And the pro scouts are scouting other pros. There's college scouts. There's international scouts. So you've got the pro scouts who are looking for, first of all, plays, tendencies. They're scouting to put a game plan together against the Celtics, but they're also looking at like, okay, let me see. Garbage time, let's take a look at whomever, Drew Peterson, Baylor Shireman. Let's start looking at some of these guys and see what they have. This way, like the Celtics did with Josh Minot and who's the center they just got from Minnesota? I'll get there at some point. Luka Garza. They saw a guy and they're like, hey, there's potential here. And so you get him on the cheap and you hope to get him for a couple years. And then maybe after a couple years, you can sign him for decent money and he doesn't you get like a Luka Cornett type. And if that's too expensive for you, let him go and you try it again. The 3 max slots are done. It's a remnant of the past now. Phoenix tried it, whiffed hard, and now they're a mess. I don't see 3 max slots. The only way is if you have drafted, maybe you've hit on all of your draft picks. It would have to be the ultimate threaded needle to get 3. Getting 2 is doable, but not for long. I think 2 things here. One, what would normally be the second max slot has to be negotiated a lot harder. And a guy like Jaylen, if he's due or can get the 35%, I think teams are going to have to be like, sorry, I'm sorry that you qualified for 35%. We're not giving it to you. We'll give you 31. We'll give you 32, which is more than somebody else. And it's going to have to be incentive based. And if you get there, then great, you get there. But if you don't, then we can't. And so I think there's going to have to be something there. But the other thing is, I think I've said this before. I don't think the triggers for Supermax can exist the way they do now. Guy can't make a 3rd-team All-NBA and then just be like, hey, great, you're Supermax eligible now. The 65-game rule, the injuries, the rest, all of that stuff. There's too much out there that can knock off potential 3rd-team All-NBA guys. Somebody can sneak in here or there, and then you become eligible, and that just makes it contentious. I think they have to rethink that. You have to be like a 1st-team All-NBA guy. Supermax has to be reserved for 1st-team All-NBA, maybe 2nd-team All-NBA as well. MVP, all like major awards. There's got to be tiers. Then you can do like a 2nd tier, 3rd-team All-NBA. Well, if you've made, let's say, 2 of those, then okay, then you're eligible. Or if you've made 2 and you've won, like if you've made an All-NBA, 3rd-team All-NBA, and you've won another award, like you're a defensive player of the year or whatever, that could be a trigger. But just making a third team, that cannot be the case anymore. You don't even want to make it so teams have to negotiate those contracts. So I think that needs to change as well. We're going to get into the Damian Lillard question next. Big men options. Boy, I'm behind here on my questions. I'm gonna rip through these. I'm gonna promise rapid fire because we got a question about my bald head coming up too. That's all coming up next. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. We have a Locked On for every sport in Boston. So Locked On Red Sox, Patriots, and Bruins. If you're not one of the, if you're one of those, Yankees fans, Cowboys fans, Celtics fan type of folks, you just all over the place, whatever, Locked On, whatever your favorite teams are. There's one for everybody. So go check those out. Sebastian, we get back johnkaralis.com/mailbag for the questions. Sebastian asks, why would the Celtics want to take on Damian Lillard, another player with a long-term injury? Sebastian from the UK, I love international listeners. I got a lot of respect for the international listeners / viewers because you commit to watching the team at weird hours. And so I think you're all awesome. So he says, if it's not Dame, then I don't think any of these options. Van Vliet's not an option. Walker Kessler's not an option. Mike Conley might be. Seth Curry, if you're going to go that route, it might as well just be Dame, who's an elite shooter. I think Damian Lillard on a minimum, we've talked about this on the podcast before. Dame on a minimum, great idea. I think locker room guy, just the Dame time guy, that kind of like just having that guy around would be great. Seems like a really good person. A guy with that level of loyalty, understands the business a bit. I just think that he would be great to have around. And if he's on a minimum, then it's harmless, right? It would be one of the best veteran minimum signings you could make. So the rewards outweigh the downfalls. Yes, defensively there would be an issue there, and he would be 36, coming off a Achilles injury, and he would not be himself. He would have to come off the bench, and he'd be a shooter off the bench. But he'd be a guy that could probably, even at 36, even with the Achilles, could probably have like a stretch of 10 points in a second quarter or something like that, and be very helpful. And if you need, if you're down 3 with 2 seconds to go, sure, you got Damian Lillard in there, like Dame, Jayson, Jaylen, eventually, like all those, Derek. That's a nice little option to have over there. So that's why Dame would make sense. James says, with Luke and Al departing, who do you think Brad should be considering bringing in to play meaningful minutes at center? And the way you spelled center with the R-E makes me think that you're from somewhere else too, James. Maybe Canada, maybe somewhere else. Either way, don't think I don't notice the center. It's Centra. Look, the options are thin. What are we looking at? DeAndre Jordan? Oof. Bismack Biyombo? You could do worse, but the options are very slim. The meaningful minutes, I think they're going to go to Luka Garza because the Celtics are going to have to figure this out. And Garza could be a Luke-ish kind of player that comes in for almost nothing, shows that he has some of the tools to make it fit. You can develop him. You can develop his 3-point shot. After, a year or two, maybe you do sign him for, give him an extension that's you've traded for him. So you can give him, you've got the bird rights. Maybe you give him 3 years, $30 million if he pans out, and, he's young enough, and you've gotten under whatever aprons and all that stuff you needed to get under. And then once you've done that for a couple of years and you've kind of reset your books, then you can start actually signing guys. But at this point, the center spots are kind of thin. I'd rather see Amari, the second rounder, come in and get a crack at it. Can't wait to watch him in Summer League. That's going to be one of my, I'm sure, overreactions to Summer League. He's going to make 2 good passes and I'm going to be like, start this guy. But no, I please do not make me say start a second round pick. But he could show enough to make you say, all right, minutes. Guys are going to have to get minutes that wouldn't normally. The Celtics just in that situation. You've traded away 2 big players. Who knows what's going on with Anthony Simons? None of the Celtics trades are official yet. And I'm just going to double check Twitter because everything now can become official, but we still haven't heard anything from Al Horford. None of the Celtics moves have been made official yet. So at this point, nothing still. So nothing. Sorry, it's just scrolling. Lots of Lakers news, lots of Lakers signing everybody, but Celtics haven't done anything official yet. But once they do, they'll have spots for guys. This is going to have to be like, there's a lot of prove it going on this year. So I don't know that anybody that comes in is going to be a guaranteed, like, oh yeah, here's your starter, unless Anthony Simons brings back a player of, a decent player, but I don't even know who that would be, because right now Brad's probably working on some sort of surprise. So we'll see. Hey, listen, side note, I wouldn't be surprised if some of this stuff isn't official because Brad's trying to turn the Anthony Simons deal into a 3-team deal or beyond that, or loop it into the Brooklyn deal or something. So there's something going on there. Chase asks, do you think there'd be less buzz around the Celtics given the talent and expectation drops, or will they still be one of Boston's favorites given the state of the Bruins, Red Sox, etc.? There's always going to be buzz around the Patriots, so I expect the Patriots to get all the buzz. But I think this year is actually going to be a more interesting season to cover than last season. Last season was all about the expectations, but that was a boring team. It was a bunch of nice guys in the locker room doing nothing, not getting into any trouble. The team that on the floor was boring. When they won, it was very familiar. When they lost, it was very familiar. There's nothing new to break down. Now we get to sink our teeth into a team of unknowns, and that's going to be fun. So that will create buzz. Somebody's going to do something like this season. We'll have Hugo Gonzalez gets a spot start and drops 20, and people are like, oh my God, there's going to be that kind of thing. There's going to be a Jaylen Brown stretch where 1 week he's player of the week, and maybe you trade Jayson Tatum, and then a month later he's going to have a week where he's he looks like the worst player in basketball, and people will be like, you got to trade him now. And so we're going to have those kinds of debates. And look, just because everybody goes through slumps and ups and downs and all that stuff. So there will be buzz, and I think there will be more buzz than there was last year. So but look, Patriots are always going to be the number one team. At least the Red Sox, from my perspective, are uninteresting and bad. So anyway, Edison says, hello, John. It's that time of year again. You know what's coming. So here it is. What happened with Yam Madar? Yam Madar. I know these are the questions. Whatever happened to Yam Madar and Juhan Begaron, the 2 draft and stash guys from years ago? I haven't seen much of Juhan, but Yam Madar actually, he beginning of the season re-signed with a team in Tel Aviv, the team that he started out with when the Celtics first drafted him and stashed him. Now he's 24. He's back, and that team won the Euro Cup, I believe, and is going to play in the Euro League next year. So it's like an incredible story, and he's one of their better players. He had a great series. I looked at some of his numbers. He's one of the reasons why they got there. So he's 24 years old, and he signed with that team through 2027. So right now, I don't think his team is going to be anxious to let him go. They just got to the Euro League. That's that's the second best league in the world, and they're going to want to have one of their better players there. So he's under contract for a few more years. I don't know. I'm not ruling out a time where he does come over. But the Celtics, once you draft a guy and he's stashed, you have his rights. So right now, he's playing better. I don't know if he's good enough to come over yet, but I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to just poo-poo it and say we'll never see Yam Madar. But we probably won't. But you never know. You never know. If he keeps getting better and starts playing well in the Euro Cup, like this is going to be a huge test. You get to the Euro Cup. These are the big boys out there. Let's see how he does against those teams. Trust me, the Celtics are keeping an eye. The Celtics are definitely keeping an eye. All right, we're going to wrap up this mailbag with James because I put this in here because I encourage people to let's end on these fun notes. Let's end on these. It's all Celtics questions. You can mix in some NBA questions. You want to have some fun with me, some fun with the league. I encourage it. We toss it in the 32nd minute of the podcast. James said, I joined the Bald Club 2 weeks ago and watching your last episode, my, your dome is next level. What is your regimen, kind sir? I could use some pointers. Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. Honestly, pure sheer luck that my head is symmetrical. I know the ears stick out on the side, but the lack of hair with the shape of my head, it works. So sometimes you have some people have like a crest on top of their head, or they have a flat head. They got bumps all over the place. I am lucky that I don't have. It's a pretty kind of circular dome. So just very simple. Just shave it. I shave it myself. Do it. Have a fogless mirror in the shower. Lather up. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Every couple days. Easy peasy. And that's it. Wear sunscreen. You just got to be careful at the top of the head. You don't burn it. It's very easy to get burnt. But wear your sunscreen. A little lotion every once in a while. That's all it takes. It's all it takes. But definitely lucky to have the genetics of a symmetrical helmet on top of my head. Thanks, everybody, for the questions. So much. Again, super happy to meet so many people. Just walking around Newport really was, obviously it's a great feeling, but so great to see so many Celtics fans out there. It was a great time. Thanks to everybody who came up to me. If I'm ever out and you see me, do not hesitate to say hi. I really do appreciate all of the love. Thank you so much. Very happy to speak to everybody. Very happy to get these questions. They are at johnkaralis.com/mailbag. I do the mailbags every Monday. So provided there's no other news, now that we're past a lot of the free agency stuff, I think Mailbag Monday is going to be the pretty consistent. So you can check that out here. But 5 days a week, so plenty to talk about here all week long. We'll have some fun. We'll try to keep it interesting. We'll try to keep it informative. So subscribe if you have not gotten to that point yet. If you're an everydayer, if you're with me every Monday through Friday, shout out to you. You know I love you. I want everybody to become an everydayer. Join me. The podcast is always free. It's always there for you in the morning. So thank you so much. Now, if you are an everydayer, I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.